Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL. Don't panic. I have just been talking to myself for the last 30 minutes. Gone back to turn off recording. I hadn't started recording. Oh, technology, I hate it. Listen, what I want to talk about today for the second time, hopefully I can remember all the nice, funny things that I said in the last video. Probably not. As most of you know, or certainly the ones that have been following me for a wee while, I like to do a review of the season so far every 5 game weeks, and also look back on the last 5 game weeks. So we're going to do that in the first instance, and then we're just going to have a look at the team then finalised and some of the decisions I've made. Most of them are final decisions, some of them in the little 50-50 mark. But I do want to talk about the season so far, and why I am in such a challenging position at the moment. And it alludes to my very, very flawed chip strategy right at the beginning of the season. Right, let's see if I can remember all the salient points again. As a few of you know, as I said, this is the first season I've played FPL seriously for a whole season. As I said, just for generally messing about with it for a season, and then in the second season I was stranded in a snowstorm on the west coast of Ireland. And by about the middle of this, by about game week 15, so I thought, I'll actually start having a little bit of a more serious look at this. And I thought, and I've got decent money in the bank. Hang on, I can get this, I can do this, I can do. And so sort of started pumping numbers into a spreadsheet and going a little low CD on it. Let's be fair, but it was fun. And all of a sudden, for the rest of the season, I was sort of hitting an average of about 70 points. And I worked out, oh my God, if I'd done that for the whole season, I'd have finished well inside the top 100k. So this season I thought, okay, let's see if I can actually do that. So have my little methodology. Those of you that see me doing the spreadsheet kind of have a fair idea how that works. So I'm looking at the previous 5 game weeks, taking the averages, what would they produce as a team, is that hitting 70 points, projecting out with the fixtures, and coming up with an estimate. And by and large, for the most part, it works, except for one key area where the strategy was sadly flawed. Now, if we look at this, so we're going to just do this as a quick review of the whole season, and then we're going to talk about the challenges that I have going forward. We're going to start with game week 1, where I made the most fundamental error ever. So I went into the first 5 game weeks of the season thinking, right, what I want to achieve is I actually want to try and build a buffer over that 70 points. And if I can do that, and then I actually do what I did last year, and kind of I guess what I am currently doing, because this is right on a 70-point average. Unfortunately, it's in 250,000th place, and I've just been hovering around there for a long time, because here should have been getting me into the sort of top 50k, because my decision here, for right or wrong, possibly both, was to go very, very aggressive with the chips and try and build up that buffer and actually try and get to an 80-90 point average, and then just try and defend it as best I could across the rest of the season. Game week 1, I made the most fundamental error, and I know other FPL, I know some experienced FPL managers have done it, and even 1 or 2 content providers I've actually seen have actually done it. I left a chip on overnight that I actually turned on, and to be fair, that was after a few too many Guinnesses in Ryan's Bower and Kilchimar. And I forgot to turn the bloody thing off, which was my bench boost. If anyone wants to be boring enough to go right back to one of my earlier videos, you'll see that no one in their right mind would have bench boosted that. There were like non-playing goalkeepers, and I think I had Greaves on the bench. And it was, I think I got about 3 points out of it. So I was like, okay, don't worry. It's early days. You can't possibly make any more errors, right? So the next one was game week 2. Let's go on with the free hit. The free hit looked an absolute joy. It protected me against Haaland, because I didn't have Haaland in at that stage. So it protected me against Haaland, and it was also just a sea of what looked like stunning home fixtures with good players against relegation, what teams that were perceived as being relegation fodder, etc. They didn't do too bad, I suppose. It got me 77 points. Unfortunately, my normal team would have gotten me 88 points. So, boom. However, no real damage done. I'm still averaging, you know, I've built a little bit of a buffer. I'm still running at that stage about 20 points or so over the 70-point average. Lovely. There's when I made my other big mistake. So the game week 3 team did well, and I was actually doing well, even though the position there doesn't look high. We've got to remember, and I'm sure most of you know this, in that sort of first 4 or 5 game weeks, you've got your fly-by-nighters coming in that are, like I was, burning their chips. But they actually continue to burn their chips. You know, most of those will be, you know, in that first 5 or 6 game weeks and beyond. You got these guys that are just trying to get their name in lights for 1 week only. They've been the team of the week, and they continue to do that for the rest of the season, and they sort of fall away fairly quickly down to 8, 9, 10, 10.5 million. So as long as I was actually hitting, you know, sort of, you know, an 80, 88 point, I was going to be happy. And I was doing that fine. And then unfortunately I bought into the narrative that everyone else bought into, and I broke up my team that had been running so beautifully, looking in the spreadsheet, well above the 70 points. And I broke it up and wildcarded and brought in Haaland when he was flying, and he stopped flying, and the spreadsheet was completely unbalanced because obviously you had to bring in players that were weaker, but the spreadsheet still said 70 points. But once he stopped scoring, there was no one else scoring on the same the levels that would be needed to maintain. See there, it just went lump. And this, I would say, is where the real damage was done on the season. Some damage was done here. There were wasted chips, and I'm obviously regretting that greatly now. If it had worked, you know, fantastic, but it didn't, and that is the harsh reality. But this is where the real pain came in, obviously. So one good thing about the spreadsheet was this ain't working, and we did corrective surgery here, because the part of my strategy that did work very, very well was building up squad value. So what I thought, right, and this is probably one of the few times hits did work for me. I thought, right, I'm just going to take some hits. I've got to dig myself out. This is just going to get worse, and it would have, because as we know, Haaland just would have been down there. So we did corrective surgery, and I was able to get in. You know, we had Saka. You know, I was able to get to Isak. I was, you know, I had Trent when Trent was firing a wee bit. You know, Arsenal were keeping clean sheets. Bruno started getting on a little bit of a run, and I was able to actually to afford them all. I was running at about 106 million budget. We climbed quickly up. Now the problem is, the next problem came in, because that's there. That when I do the maths, that actually just shows that I've pretty much been bang on that 70-point average over that period of time. But my current average is about 60, just over 66 for the season. Why 70 points? I hear the uninitiated asking. 70 points in previous seasons, some previous seasons, would have actually won you FPL. Now I don't think in a month of Sundays I'm going to win FPL. You know, it's 11 million people play this thing, and it needs a huge amount of luck. But having that as a target for 70 points within my spreadsheet, working out those averages, working out my projections, etc., seeing with the team on average hit that, it's aspirational. Normally, where I'm at the moment, the 66, 67 points would actually have me well within that top 100k. But of course, what we have at the moment is an unusual season. What happened, of course, is Saka got injured, so that meant the advantage I had with the team and the budget, etc., suddenly was disappeared. So all of a sudden, everyone could get to Isak. So I lost that sort of little advantage that I'd had for a few weeks. It also meant, you know, people, you know, obviously people were switching then, obviously from Haaland to Salah, etc. So the whole balance of the game shifted. So this actually doesn't look too bad. That's actually it is actually a very, very nice, healthy. Probably when I work it all out, it's actually probably working just out above 70. But 70 points, as I said, in previous seasons would have won the thing. Last year the average actually was 73. This year it's actually going to be about 76, I'd say, and that is because of the Salah factor. Everyone has him. His consistency has never been seen before. You know, even Haaland at his best does not match the sort of numbers that Salah's producing at the moment, and that's obviously pushing the overall averages up. So there we've got that factor. Obviously, all of us have got to deal with that. And where do we find differentials? We've all got to have Salah, but where do we find our differentials to find rank rises? So that's kind of where we are at the moment. We're currently sitting at 250k. I've got no chips. We've got the other factor that I have to say, I did, as I sort of decided to go hard out on chips at the beginning of the season, was based on a few things as well. Was we got the thing of 5 rolling transfers. I thought, well, who needs chips when you've got 5 transfers you can roll? We were fed the narrative that there would be only a couple of double game weeks because of the FA Cup and the way that was getting scheduled. Yeah, right. We've had the unannounced one. Okay, nothing anyone could do about the Liverpool Everton match. But just expect the unexpected. If that's a lesson I've learned this year, expect the unexpected. There is always going to be something happens almost each and every week that you hadn't planned for. But of course, so we had that double. Now we've got blank 29. We've got double game week 32. We've got blank 33. We've probably, I think this has just come out now, that there is likely going to be a blank in 35, and we've got a double in 36. That is actually worse than last year, that I actually managed through quite nicely without chips. That is an absolute bloody minefield. What do we do about it? Well, I think let's go to my team. So yeah, that's listen, I'm doing all right. I'm actually quite happy being in 250. It's actually a minor miracle that I'm still in 250,000. Can I get to the top 100k? It's going to be challenging. Let's be honest about it. Let's be honest. But I'm still going to give it a crack. But it does mean taking some strategic gambles, I think. So let's have a little look at the team. 426. So as per the last video, I brought in Nwaneri. Ahmad was injured. Again, one of these things you just don't plan for. So Nwaneri is coming in. I like the look of him. I think a few people will be put off him because Saka will be back. Martinelli will come back. Not quite sure when he's scheduled back. I think he should see me through to 29, and that's all I need. That's all I need from him. And at 4.5 million, it enables other things. Then he can potentially go to the bench for a wee while until I wild card. But it wouldn't surprise me. He's looking good. He's looking like a really good, fresh, hungry young talent. He's looking good down that right. Looks like he's got a goal in him. He's certainly got assists in him. And at 4.5 million, there will be weeks when he's on the bench. But fixtures like that, West Ham home, I think he's going to get me a return in that game. We'll see. From here, it's where do I take a couple of chances this week? So the first chance, as a few of you will notice, do I take the captain's armband off Salah and put it on Isak? City away. That is going to go one of two ways, obviously. But from a Salah perspective, he's either going to haul or he's going to get nothing. It will terrify me to take the captain's armband off him. Liverpool in transition are, in my opinion, and it pains me to say it as a Man United fan, the best team in England by far, probably the best team in Europe at it, and potentially the best team in the world. Just in transition, on their day, they can rip anyone a new one. And City, let's face it, can be played through. You know, they lose that ball up front when they're pressed, and Liverpool on the break could destroy them. Or, the narrative I prefer, City have their new players in, they defend well, they get a 1-0 win. No, 1-1. No, Trent's on the bench yet. They get a 1-0 win because Salah's points means nothing. I've got the captain's armband on Isak. He is goals imminent. He can't blank 3 weeks in a row, can he? And he gets a hat-trick against Forest, who have shown they're conceding at the moment. You know, they've obviously had, you know, they've had the odd good result. I mean, they've been Forest are very inconsistent, and away from home, they've shown they can concede a goal or two, or more. It's a punt, but not as big as the next punt I might take. Now, I don't want to take any hits in my ideal world for players, but would I take a hit for a manager? And that would be McKenna, Ipswich, Spurs at home, potential 20-pointer. Spurs, I know they beat United, but they are poor. They're very poor at the moment. Ipswich are fighting for their lives, I think. They're not actually looking too bad. Yeah, Delap, 1-0 Spurs, 20 points in the bank. 4-point hit, so that's 16 points. We'll stay on slot with a tough fixture away to City that they might win. They might keep a clean sheet, but I'm looking probably at 10 points max. I'll just look for upside and a real differential in McKenna. I'm very tempted, really tempted. And what's the worst that can happen? Ipswich lose, slot win. It's play safe or take a punt. How big a punt is it though? I just really have a feeling Ipswich are going to do Spurs. It'll make it for a very exciting game week. I'd say I'm 50-50 on that. No, you know what? No, I'd say actually more. I'd say I'm more 50-50 on the Salah Isak choice. And probably about 70 or 80% to go for the slot punt. Now what that means to me going forward, now I actually do like the look of this team, the 11 I've got going out for this game week. Is other than that, for the next couple of game weeks after this, to just to actually roll, just to literally roll. There are players in there that will be coming out prior to 29, as I try and get 10 or 11 players out. Now I've actually will have 4 transfers in total. If I did use one on slot, that just leaves me with 3. Actually, no, I got that the wrong way around. No, that would actually just leave me 2, 20, 25, 26, 29. Yeah, just three transfers. If I do use a transfer on slot to take him out from McKenna, that just leaves me with 3. It does effectively mean, unless I take a hit, I would have to play with 10 men in game week 29. I'm actually not overly worried about that if they're the right players. So my instinct is probably to, whatever I do this week is now just to sort of keep rolling a few. Trent is one of the players that would certainly be coming out for 29 as a blanker, but he's got Southampton in game week 28, I think, so certainly don't want to be taking him out before that. But it opens the door then. If I take Trent out, I would actually have the money to turn Watkins, who is also blanking, into Haaland. But that could equally be, if Marmoush is going well, I could equally go with Marmoush. Now then that gives me money to do some other interesting things. Ndiaye, for instance, could easily turn into Cunha, and I really would like to bring Cunha in. He is an absolutely amazing fixture run coming from 29 to the end of the season pretty much, and he's looking really good again, isn't he? So what am I going to do? Captaincy decision to be made. Where are you guys going? I'm glad it makes the game interesting again. It's been started to get a little bit boring always on Salah. So now we have decisions to make around captaincy, and I think that's maybe, if I get those decisions right, it might save my lack of chips and gain a few points if, and it's a big if, I make the right decisions. Slot's a big one. Really want to do that. I think I'm going to turn slot into McKenna. But other than that, after 26, I think it is keep my itchy transfer figure away from the keyboard and just roll. The team actually, unless there are any more injury surprises, largely looks good right through to 28. Then I'll just have a couple of transfers just to do those tweaks. 29 to make sure I've got a really good 10 out, potentially an 11, depending on some of my decisions. Because then, of course, what we have is double game week 32. Okay, I would have, if I do the transfers I'm thinking of doing, I'd already have two players for that, and maybe potentially Mateta is obviously one of the ones I've obviously got on my watch list as well. And then, as I say, we just have to, I think, sort of start to really think about it, almost like we don't know what some of these blanks and doubles are going to look like until we've got more information around the cup matches, and at least by 29 we'll have seen a little bit of we'll have had some more cup matches. We might get a little bit of a clearer picture who's likely to be blanking and who's likely to be doubling. Maybe that influences some of the decisions I make for 29. So I think, yeah, as I talk that through to myself, you know what, I don't think I'm going to transfer out slot. I think we keep the transfers and I just take the chance on the City. Transfers are going to be more valuable than taking a punt for maybe an upside of 10 or 15 points. They could getting the right players in over doubles and blanks and trying to navigate that. Yeah, sorry Mr. Slot, I need a win out of you against City. No pressure. That's it.
A little bit of waffle. Hope you got a little bit out of that. At least talking about my flawed chip strategy, it was good to get it off my chest as I try and try and navigate through all of this. But yeah, not too bad. 250k at the moment. Was that 250, 255? I think on the live rank it's actually a little bit higher because of subs and all that. We've obviously got the double to come. Don't think I'm too badly set up for the double during the week. Hopefully get some upside out of that. Then we'll. I mean, this I mentioned it, but the scary one there actually for the double is Emery. That if Emery does get one over on Liverpool, and it will not surprise me, that will change the whole complexion of this week in an instant. We'll see what happens. That's all we can do. Listen, hope your game week's going well. We're got a couple of days before Thursday yet, where I'm here in New Zealand, obviously. It's Tuesday afternoon, so yeah, a day or two to go before the Thursday match, and then we roll into the next game week, which is going to be, well, it's nice to get out of these doubles and things. I think it's been all driving us mad between the injuries and then new things getting announced, like almost feels like every day with more doubles and blanks, etc. So a little period of calm, I think, will go down very, very well. Have fun, play your own game, don't panic. I'll see you in a few days' time. Take care, bye-bye.